Pterodactyl here. Today's video is going to be on this here bad boy mower that's got this twin cylinder crawler Courage twin. And the problem that this mower came in with is it has no power. They were complaining it has no power. So I'm going to show you how to go about troubleshooting a problem with no power, and then we're going to talk about the thing that is causing the no power. How just wait till you see. Just wait till you see what we're gonna find here. So my experience, when something comes in a twin cylinder, mainly a twin cylinder engine, when they're complaining of no power, it's generally because it's not running correctly on both cylinders. One side may be running fine and it's the other side that may be an issue. It could be several issues. It could be not getting enough fuel. It could be an ignition problem. It could be a valve problem. But the first thing we need to do is determine which cylinder is not running correctly. And to do that, you're going to need some kind of heat gun. In my case, I've got the hillbilly heat gun right here. It's called a bottle of water. This will save you some money from buying one of those fancy thermal heat guns. All you need is this hillbilly heat gun. So I'm going to fire this thing up. Now, do you notice how this side, look at how that water is just immediately. And this side, it's getting warm, but it's not as hot as this side. This is the problem. Our problem is on this side. Now we have to determine, is it fuel related? Now, generally, if you've got a two-barrel carburetor, it could be one of the jets, because it's a two-barrel, one of the jets could be plugged, and the problem could be it's not feeding enough fuel to the one cylinder that you're having problems with. This is a single-barrel carburetor. So that fuel issue of not it running to one side really wouldn't apply. It could if this plastic manifold, intake manifold, had a crack in it, or if these bolts had loosened up, or if the manifold warped and it was sucking air. But that's not our problem. Our problem isn't the valves either. Our problem is with the ignition. So now our next step. Let's check the ignition. Now, there's a bunch of different spark testers out there. These are okay. I used to use these a lot, but sometimes you'll get false readings with this one that lights up. The best way to check the spark is with one of these type, which we sell in our online store. This gives you the most accurate reading, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So I'm going to tie this in to the ignition circuit, and we're going to watch how it sparks, because this one hooks to the end of the spark plug. And again, if you're using one of these, if there's any kind of metal exposed, on the device you're using. Make sure it's not touching or close to any other metal because it could jump. The spark could jump, and then you're going to have a false reading that way too. All right, let me start this again. And we're going to watch what it does. So if you notice, at idle, it's flashing fine, and then when I revved it up, it was missing. So, I mean, it's working. It's telling us that there's a problem with the coil. Now watch when I use this one. Because this one, it's got to, in order to have strong enough spark, it's got to jump this big gap. And that gap is a lot bigger than your spark plug gap. But that's how they do it. Now I could hook it to the end of the spark plug, but it's kind of close to this other metal, so I'm just going to ground it to the engine block somewhere. You want to find a good ground. I'm going to ground it to that. I got to choke it. So it's sparking. Kind of intermittent. Now when I rev it up, so that's why we were getting a little bit of heat out of this side, because it is sparking intermittently. Now, if you notice, which I'm sure you noticed, what is that wire? What's that wire wrapped around that coil wire, Taryl? What is that? What is that wire? What is that for? This is for the hour meter and digital tachometer, which they have on the dash here. Now, that thing doesn't work. Watch, when I turn the key on, this should come on. It's not working. This digital tach. So, since I believe the coil is bad, and if I was to replace the coil, I had to take this off anyway, and it doesn't work, it's broke. I'm just going to cut it off anyway, take it off. Now it works by induction. That's how this works. That's why this is wrapped around it. This wire is picking up the induction of it. Because you could buy some of these tachometers aftermarket, hour meter tachometers. And that's what you do. If you got the instructions, you would have to wrap it around the coil wire. So let's see if that was interfering with it. Or if just the coil is bad. Now the coil is bad. Now another thing we want to do. This is your kill wire. And all this wire does is it just grounds this to ground. So when you turn the key off, it would be like if you cut this wire and stripped it back and just touched it to ground. That's what would kill the spark. That's how this coil works. It's pretty simple. It doesn't have a diode wired into the electrical system like the brakes and scrap 'em engines do on their twin cylinders. They have a diode in there. This doesn't. So I'm going to disconnect both of them. And let's see if the spark is any better. Because, you know, there could be a problem with the kill wire system. It could be grounding out somewhere. It could be rubbed through somewhere. So we want to eliminate that as as an issue. We want to just make sure, we want to isolate the issue. So we're isolating it by pulling that wire off, because that's the only wire that goes to this. Now there are some other crawler engines that have digital ignitions. There's some that have a spark advanced module ignition where they have more than one wire going to it. But if you have an ignition coil on a small engine that just has one wire going to it, that's the kill wire. And to kill the spark is just by simply from this going to ground. So we're going to eliminate that. And then we're going to see what kind of spark we got now. It's still intermittent. Now I shut the key off and it killed the motor. The reason it killed the motor is it's got that fuel anti-backfire valve that's on the carburetor, this thing. So when I shut it off, it killed the fuel to the motor. So that's why it shut off. And you heard the way it was cranking real hard and bad. That's because I've got another video that tells you how crappy that these starters are. This Kohler stuff is just horrendous. If you're going to buy a mower and you have an engine choice, go with a kind of sucky, a Kawasaki. Go with one of them engines. Don't go with a Briggs. Don't go with these Kohlers, these Crawlers. Those engines are junk. All right, so our coil is bad. Now, the coil, if you look real close, this OEM coil, this is an OEM coil, has got the part number on it. There's the part number. I don't know if you can see it. It's 3258406. Now the crawler one's going to have a dash S on the end, the OEM crawler, which I have in stock. See, it's got the same number. You can find these on the inner screen from Scamazon or Fleabay for probably half or less than half the cost of the OEM one. But again, you're rolling the dice on that. That's up to you if you want to trust that aftermarket stuff. I've bought aftermarket parts and had good luck with some of them, and other ones I haven't had so much good luck. But we're going to put the OEM one on there. And also, if you want to learn some more about ignition switches and ignition systems, I do have a short 5 or 6 minute video that explains ignition systems and key switches and what to look for on them. So you might want to check that video out. So I need to get me a 5/16 or an 8mm. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I thought it was money calling. It's not money calling. It's only elk skins. Elk skins! Oh, he went right to his office. Oh, here he comes. I thought he went in his office. There he is. What do you always say?
Fire it up! Fire it up! Fire it up!
All right, if you notice, our kill wire is on the top, like it is on both wires, or both coils, I should say. So be aware of that. Because some coils, like on brakes and scrap 'em, their coils will have this side out, cylinder side on there. The crawlers don't, so just pay attention, because you can put it on upside down, but then it would be difficult to get to the kill wire to hook it back up. And then sometimes if you put it on wrong, the wire would not be long enough to reach the spark plug. So just pay attention to how the coil was mounted originally. So again, 5/16 socket or 8mm, that's the same size. And then put the new coil on. And if you notice, there's slots in here. That's just elk skins going in and out. That's not money. That's just elk skins, unless he's spending money here. Get them started. If you're using a power tool on them, you don't want to cross thread them. Pull the coil all the way back in the slots and snug it down, because we have to set what's called the air gap. There's got to be a gap in there. We don't want the coil rubbing on the magnets, and you got to be careful, because I've seen people do this before. You could ruin this engine if you're not paying attention. That's why it's got to be all the way back. Say I didn't pull this all the way back. I'm going to loosen this up. Say I had it all the way forward in the slots. When this comes around, it's going to hit that. It's going to hit the magnet here. I've had customers that did that, and they broke this off. They broke both of them off. The head goes from here to here. This is the engine block. And then they came back and wanted to know how they could fix that, and I go, by putting a new engine on it. Oh, come on. Well, you're nuts. There's got to be a way to fix that. I said, you just ruined it. I go, you could take it somewhere and have them, maybe they can weld them back on. But I go, you basically ruined the engine. And then we want to turn it to where the magnets are lined up. We got our gap. And then you got to set it with a feeler gauge. I don't think I got that one leg back. Let me loosen this up. All right, so we have to set that air gap in there. For some reason, this doesn't want to come back too far on this side. The heck is going on there? There's just barely what we need for our air gap there. The reason you pull it back, because the magnet on the flywheel is going to want to grab the coil on you. That's why you want to have that out of the way. But I don't know why that side's so close. Yeah, you can see it's pretty close. It's the correct coil. Oh, I know why. Because it's a crappy crawler engine. Oh, I love my crawlers. You take that back, Taryl. I love my crawlers. You can love them all you want. I don't love them. So, if you don't have feeler gauges, because I've run into this, you can use some cardstock. You can use this as about 10, because it's got to be about 10 or 12 thousandths. It's not that critical. You don't want a wide gap, but you don't want a wide gap, and you don't want it rubbing on there. You just want to have an air gap that's close enough. 10 to 12 thousandths. So you could use a piece of this cardstock. You could use a business card. You could use some of the cardstock from, say, a 30 brick of hams. And you're going to want to stick it in there. And then when you loosen the screws, the magnet's going to suck it tight up against your gauge. And then you tighten it down. And then when you spin the flywheel, it'll remove that. We just don't want it touching. And there's your dinner. Now this thing is kind of loaded up now from me running it, you know, without the plug wire hooked up because I could smell gas. I'm going to stick this spark tester back on it because it was working too. We could see that it was intermittent. There's your dinner. That's what it was, a bad coil. Uh-oh. Now we got money calling. Nope, I gotta run this on the inside. So since this tachometer doesn't work, I'm just gonna cut this wire. I'm just gonna eliminate it. I gotta get the phone. All right, I went ahead and hooked up my other spark tester because I'm sure you're going to want to see how it acts with that one. Runs pretty good on one cylinder, huh? You probably thought, oh, that thing's running pretty good on one cylinder. And you can see we had steady spark with this spark tester. So there you have it, grass rats. Bad coil. Now, what I think is going on with this coil, and a lot of you know this, some of you don't, they have a built-in advanced mechanism in here, which advances the timing. So if you notice at idle, it was sparking pretty decent. It would miss every once in a while, and then when we revved it up, it quit sparking, or the spark would be very intermittent. It would cut in and out. And I think that advance, that built-in advance is bad. And how that built-in advance works is it'll spark at low RPM, and then as the engine speed picks up, the coil can sense that through its technology, electronic technology in there. As it speeds up, it can detect that, and it will advance the timing. So not all coils will interchange. We found this out because, like, here is a command. This is a crawler command engine. And like I was telling you earlier, see how this crawler engine has got two wires going to it, and it's got this box on the side. This is called the SAM module. S-A-M, like Sam, like Uncle Sam. Here we go with that phone again. Go up front, Elkskins. So this red wire actually is feeding 12 volts to this coil. And this other wire is a brown wire, and that's all in this Spark Advanced module. That's what SAM stands for. Spark Advanced module. And that's all controlled through this. So this is a different type of ignition. So if I pulled these coils off and pulled off that box and tried to put, just say, standard crawler magnetos on there like this, they're real similar to this would not work. It ain't gonna run. Because the magnets on the flywheel are in a different spot. Trust me, I tried it, it don't work. If I wanted to convert this to a magneto ignition like this, instead of this spark advance, I could do it if I had another command engine that had just magnetos on it and didn't have this ignition. I would have to change the flywheel and the coils, and then I would just eliminate that. That's how you can make that work. These coils will not interchange with the command coils. We've tried that too. You can get it to start, but there's a definite timing difference. When you go to crank it over, it'll crank kind of hard and kind of want to kick back, and then you can get it started and it runs fine when it's in higher RPM, but when you go to lower RPMs, it doesn't run right, and you can tell it's an ignition problem because the timing is off. And again, because of the built-in advance. So you can't, some of these small engines you can interchange coils and make them work, but not on every one of them. So that's why it's important when you're looking up parts for your engine, you gotta look it up with the model and the spec number that's on the engine shroud. You just can't call these small engine shrouds, I got a crawler that's got this on it. You gotta have that tag. This is a KT740. That's the spec number, 3048. This tag means nothing. Well, it's got some of that information on there. But a lot of times, this doesn't have the right one. This has got the spec number on it. But some brakes and scrap 'em engines, they don't have the right info on some of these tags. You got to find the other tag. That's why it's important. Make it easy for yourself. Make it easy for the guy you're talking to on the phone when you got all the right information and the right parts. So that's all that was wrong with this. Had a bad coil. Well, there's other stuff we got to do to it, but you know, they want it tuned up and gone over. I'll have to ask them about that tachometer hour meter if they want that replaced. I can replace that. But for now, we got the no power situation worked out. That's what they were mainly concerned about, that it had no power. So see how easy it is? With some stuff you can just have at home. Cardstock and your hillbilly heat gun. I usually just wet my fingers, but you can burn yourself. So, if you like this video, hit the like button, do all that YouTube stuff. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe. Follow me. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Follow me with your crappy crawler engines with the bad coils on them. They all got bad. They all got problems. I don't care what mower you got. They all got their issues, just like cars. And as always, there's your dinner. Woo! Troubleshooting another one. Oh, here comes Elfskins again with a sugary drink. Did you hear me?
Well, what?
What did I do?
Fixed it?
What did I do when I turned the key?
Fired it up.
There's your dinner.